Don't make me giggle. Okay, so this week's assignment is actually a fairly simple one. I'm just throwing in some things that are hanging over that you are going to need to do. So I'm just going to put this stuff on a blank page. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to create a form, and that's probably going to be the most complicated of the things that we do. I'm putting in a video that's going to go more into depth that somebody else made for you, but I'm just going to put in some of the basic things that are included in a form. And what a form is a way that you gather information from your user. So, you want to know their name, their login, their birth date, their, what they're buying at Amazon, whatever. Everything, the time that you're getting information pretty much from your user, you're getting a form. So let's take a look at my Dreamweaver here. And if we go into to create a form is obviously going to be created on the body, in the body, because it is actually HTML. And so you're going to create a form tag, and the form tag holds all of the form elements in place. Now, if you're reading these things, you'll also see an action, and you don't need to put an action for this particular project. Typically what that's going to be is if you are sending your information to another page to show up on a page, or more commonly what happens is you're going to do a post and you send it to something in the server to, like, you'll see PHP pages and things like that. In fact, I think the W3 school samples that you see have like some of them have action.php. And I don't want you to put anything in there because we're not going to a server. So if you actually put that action.php, you're going to cause an error for yourself. So you can just leave that action right now blank. Typically also you'll see a method in here, which is going to be either get or post. And I'm not going to worry about that because we are neither sending our results to another page in our site, nor to be processed by JavaScript, because that's above this class, as is sending it to another page on a server. So right now you can just close this form tag after that. And now we can put in form input types. And typically what you're going to do is you're going to make a label for these. And the way that you know what the label is for is you actually say like for equals, and you have to know what your input tags are going to be called. So let's say I say first to be first name there. And then I am going to put in here and say first name. Helps if I spell first name colon. And then I'm going to have my input after that. The input is the way that I actually get my information. And so now you have to tell it what type of input you're going to have. So if I'm going to have people typing in their name, that's going to be a text box, but you can see there's all different kinds of input. Inside of W3 Schools, it's going to give you a little bit more information about what all of these things are, but the main ones that you're going to see are buttons for like submit buttons, check boxes. Remember, if you have check boxes, you can have people can select as many of them as they want. Radio buttons is they can select only one. Those are the round ones. So most of these, I think once you start playing with them, you'll understand what they are. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in a text box. And then generally I'm going to have an ID. Actually, my ID has to be the same as my for here. So I'm going to say ID equals first. It has to match. That's how it knows that's what the label is for. And I don't need to close this because I don't need to have a closing tag because input tags don't have anything inside of them technically. So you see here, you can see it created my first name and then it gave me a blank up there for it. So that's the way these things work. You just create the label and then you create all of the form fields that you want. I'd like to see you use a variety. Try playing with radio buttons and seeing how those work. Try playing with check boxes and seeing how those work. And then typically what you're going to have going on is a submit button. So we're going to do button. And it will recognize, it's going to recognize what a submit button is. So when you tell something that it is a submit button, it's going to do whatever the action is inside of the form. So let me go here. So button type submit. I'm going to say submit. And then that's going to end my form. You can only have one submit button per form, and that is how the form knows that it submits. That's the action. So that is a very, very simple form. I'd like to have you do a little bit more complex and play with different types. Okay, so the other stuff in here I'm asking you to do is to do a YouTube video or Vimeo or something like that. So I have this video here that is a really good forms video. I was kind of looking for something that would teach you guys about it. He gets a little bit more complex into things, but if you want to dig more into forms, this is a great video to watch. I'll go ahead and throw it in the module. But to put a YouTube video on the page, and the reason why I call this iframes is because you'll see that when I go into embed, I'm actually using iframe codes. Iframes are used to put a link to another page inside of your page. So you can see here that I have a source and it's actually going to a whole nother URL, and that's what iframes do. So I could have this going to completely different things, but I'm just going to copy this here. I could be showing Google, embed some Google. I don't know, actually, maybe Google has some way to block that, but all I have to do is take that, paste it on my page. Bam, there's an iframe. Let's do some Google fonts in here. I'm going to go to the Google font page. And I see that oh, here's Google Fonts. Google Fonts, there we go. There's Google Fonts. Okay, so when you go to the Google Fonts page, it's just fonts.google.com. And you kind of pick a font that you want. You can go in here, you can change, like say you want something to be, I don't know. You want something to look hand printed, for instance. Let's see here, categories, here we go. So I only want handwritten looking fonts. So I want my name is Susan. I like this one, Architect's Daughter. So I'm going to go ahead in this. I can see how that one looks. I can download the family, but that's not what I want to do. I want to you're going to go into here where it says select this style, pop this open here. Oh, and it usually pops open a left-hand side thing here, and it's not. There we go. It opened it right there for me. And this gives me the link to what I want in to put in my header. But let's go in and let's add some other fonts in here, because you just go in and you add your styles to this. Right now I could remove that style, but let's go back and let's add a different style. Let's say I want this one too. I don't know. select this style. So now they're both in here. So I have this one link. And I'm going to need these things too, but let's go back. This will link my page, my CSS, or wherever I want to put this. Actually, I'm going to put it in my HTML. It's going to link it to the Google Fonts. So let's go back to the Google Fonts. I'm going to take this in the header and I'm just going to paste this inside of the head right here. Bam. Now let's say I want an H1 and I'm going to go in here. Let's put a header, H1 head. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to this. And let's say I want that to show up in Architect's Daughter. I'm going to grab my font family there for Architect's Daughter. And you can see here that it says CSS rules to specify families. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go in my, wherever I am storing my CSS, whether it be in the head of the document or in an external document. So I'm going to make a style tag. I want this on my H1s. And then I'm just going to put that in there. Bam. Now that's showing up. And that is it. But I want you to play with these. I would ideally like you to be putting these into a CSS grid document. These are really just additions to what you're working on rather than the whole cake. This is frosting. It's not the cake. So add this on to what you're working on and let me know if you have any questions.